I'm with John and Doris Nesbitt, who've just finished their book, China Megatrends. And to hear about a little bit about China, what are the things that you're writing about in China Megatrends, and what are the things that people don't really take account of in China?
We are writing about the principles, what accounts for this extraordinary 30-year advance that everyone talks about in the rise of China. And these principles and these pillars, as we say, of a new society are just that. China is creating an entirely new social economic system, and we describe that system and describe how it came about.
Are there weaknesses or difficulties with China, though? I mean, is this... It's a huge challenges.
The Western democracy was built, was created in America about 200 years ago. Look back in all the bumps in the road. How can we expect that China would not have bumps on the road? It's a process. It's a process of emancipation, which is the main pillar on which all other pillars are resting on. And this emancipation process is not going on within the people, that they have more and more freedom to do things, but it's also an emancipation process within the government, which is loosening up, which is giving more and more freedom to the people. So it's a process that the Western democracy has gone through over the last 200 years, but China has only begun and is, to our guess, about 1/3 there.
One of the questions raised here was, what about the issues of corruption? What about the issues of environment? Aren't these big problems in China?
Well, of course they are, and no one knows them better than the Chinese. No one talks about them more than the Chinese. In our institute, the Nesbitt China Institute in Tianjin, we monitor local newspapers from all the provinces of China. And the two big issues, editorially and also in the news coverage in local newspapers in China, the two big issues are corruption and the environment. These are the two big social issues and sustainability issues, because both have to do with sustainability of any kind of system. These are the two big issues in China.
What would you say is the driving change that's going to come forward? Is it demographics? Is it
well, demographic in a sense that this is the first generation that has not lived through the horrible nightmares that China went through in the 20th century. They are free. They grow up in a sort of a digital world, and they really want to join the world. And to join the world, they want to adapt, but not in a way of adapting to Western system, but adapting to their own culture and creating their own system in which they can be part of the global community.
So China is going to come into the world in its own terms.
Yes, and it's doing that, and it's certainly in its own terms. If you look at some recent announcement, particularly in its policy with countries around the world, its African policy is very, very different and much more effective and much more liked by the Africans, I must say, than in the West. West policy has been to deal with countries, developing countries that they want to help along. More than that, China's model, the model of how it went from nothing to the second largest economy in the world, is becoming a model of great interest around the world, particularly with developing countries who have been trying for decades to try to make their economy better, and with the help of the West, and it hasn't happened. And now even Russia has teams of people in China to try to figure out how they did it.
Okay, which is not to say there's not a litany of problems in China that China is facing, which at the end of the panel we just did, you went through a long, long list.
Nobody is more aware than the Chinese.
Well, we learned that from the Chinese.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, one could read one paragraph of Hu Jintao's speech, and you would think this is taken out of a Western press, because it's a litany of all the problems China has to solve and wants to solve.
Right.
And we put that speech in our book.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.